We're back. You're watching Free Speech TV. I'm Laura Flanders from GRITtv, here with Thom Hartmann of the Thom Hartmann Show, and also joining us here in Washington, D.C. at the One Nation March and Rally, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who's come into town being followed by hordes from Detroit. How many folks did you bring with you, Reverend?
We came by busloads. What strikes me about this, the theme of the art of reconciliation rather than polarization. We've learned to survive apart. Now we must learn to live together. That becomes the big American challenge. I was here 47 years ago, standing right along here. Brother King gave the I Have a Dream speech. 47 years later, we are free but unequal. We're free, and metaphor there is not bounce, check, mark, insufficient funds. It's insufficient priority. And that's the time to end unnecessary wars and reinvest in putting America back to work.
But Reverend King didn't just have a dream, he had a movement at his back, and that movement revealed the fact that we were not one nation, that we were many nations that needed to make some real change to come together.
We're a multicultural nation, but that one nation agreed that we should have a public accommodation bill to end Jim Crow. It agreed that we should have the right to vote. It agreed that, and we went to 765, blacks couldn't vote, white women couldn't serve on juries, and farmers who couldn't pay poll taxes couldn't vote, and 18-year-olds couldn't vote, and we didn't vote multilingually. So the dream keeps unfolding. Today the focus, look at jobs. In Detroit, a lot of think it's ground zero. There's not one chain grocery store in Detroit, not one chain retail store in Detroit. There are 90,000 homes vacant or abandoned in Detroit. If we, in fact, made a commitment for apprenticeship training and create landscapers, we could tear down boards and put up window panes, jobs, plumbers, jobs, roofers, jobs. We can, if we think our way out, we can, in fact, put America back to work.
Do we need to change our approach to job creation? I hear a lot of talk about tax cuts.
Well, tax cuts don't mean very much unless you have some stimulus for job creation. But if you're going to build a shopping center, unless you have a chain store and a retailer, you don't run the traffic to help the small business. So tax cuts don't mean very much unless you have a base that drives the economy. That's why if GM is bailed out by the U.S., and yet their main market for Buicks is China, and they close plants in Saginaw and Flint, then small business cuts don't mean very much of the jobs in China and Mexico.
Can you explain to the people who are watching us on Dish Network and DirecTV just what a jobless recovery is?
A jobless recovery is like an eggless omelet. It does not stand the reason. We must put America back to work. And I really think that $100 billion going to the war in Afghanistan, you cut it by 10%. You can cut the military budget without cutting defense. You use that money to reinvest in putting America back to work. I met with a family in Detroit yesterday, a minister who gave several families 300 turkeys, and they brought them back. They had no place to cook them and no place to store them. And so they're tying water, gas, and electricity in the same bill. If you could just pay your electrical bill, you would stay in the house and still be warm and cook. Well, you cut off water, gas, and food. You put people in the streets. We must have a more comprehensive urban policy than that. And see that our character is measured by how we treat the least of these. Poverty is expanding, and it's hurtful, and it's not right.
Well, that goes back to the question of one nation. The latest statistics from the census, we've got 1% of the population with basically 50% of the income of the entire country. Don't we have to do more than just learn to live together? We have to learn to share, and don't we have to fight a little? Or is that a bad word these days?
Government policy, you know, we have government-subsidized wealth and government-induced poverty. I mean, why are the rich doing so wealthy? Because we bail them out without linkage to lending, no linkage to reinvestment. So you get $1 billion without linkage, and you can hoard capital and make money off of interest. You get rich too. So this is government-induced wealth, subsidized wealth, and induced poverty. And as for the fight we have for kids in school, many of them are simply malnourished. They need dental care. They need glasses. Hearing issues, they are sick. They need our help. I hope today's march will accomplish two things. One, rather of our will to focus on jobs and to vote in big numbers November 2nd.
Thom Hartmann.
Reverend Jackson, back in 1936, Franklin Roosevelt, in his acceptance speech, said, "A necessitous man is not a free man. A hungry man is not a free man." Reverend Martin Luther King echoed that over and over and over again. And yet, over and over and over again since the Reagan Revolution, we have heard from the right that it is an invasion of freedom to help people from being necessitous. That when we help people with health care, it's an invasion of freedom. It's a destruction of freedom. Can you talk about how you and your organizations and this movement and how America, frankly, needs to go back to an understanding that freedom is not just the freedom to die in the gutter?
Well, you know, the reason I laugh, people who have money spend their time in the gym trying to lose weight, so others who are hungry cannot get food. And that shows the gap. And we must close that gap and build that bridge, because with all the hubbub about the mosque or the center in New York and about religion, all religions say feed the hungry.
It's Matthew 25.
And clothe the naked and set the captive free. So we have a moral imperative before us. And so I say march today, but register next week. Because if we vote in our numbers, we can win in November and maintain a continuous struggle to fight hate crime, to end the war in Afghanistan, and to put America back to work.
Reverend Jesse Jackson. We've got Congressman John Conyers going to join us from Detroit. We'll hear more about the condition of life for people there. Thanks for joining us.